Hello and welcome to the fourth Java tutorial. Today we're going to be going over for loops, and depending on how long it takes, we'll maybe do while loops as well, or I'll just put into the next video. And so what is a for loop? Well, a for loop is essentially a loop that allows us to repeat a certain number of code x amount of times, where x is any integer. That's not -1, or that's not less than 0, I suppose. So let's go ahead and write the syntax. So we have for open parentheses, close parentheses, and we're gonna have int I equals 0. I'm gonna explain what all this means, don't worry. While I is less than 5. I need to make my main method first. That would probably be helpful. Public static void main strings, not strings, args, and now we can write our for loop. So for int I equals 0, while I is less than 5, and I plus plus. And now this is our for loop. And so what we're saying here is I wanna make a loop. Whatever's inside this body of code between these curly brackets, I wanna run based on my parameters that I have in here. So I've made a new integer I, and I said run this for loop while I is less than 5. And after each iteration of the loop, so every time we go through this body, I want you to add 1 to I. So after 5 iterations, it will cut off. So when I is equal to 4, and then it goes to iterate again, it won't, because when 5 is less than 5, that's not a thing. That's a false statement. But 4 is less than 5, and so it will run. So let's write something. So let's say this this is the plus no, we'll say this loop has run I plus times. Okay? And we do need a closing parenthesis and a plus sign here. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we should see this loop is run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it's only going to go to 4 actually, because we start at 0. And this is quite common in programming, regardless of the language. We like to count from 0 to whatever, to x, I suppose. There's a desired integer x, and we like to start counting at 0. And so this is usually because arrays like to start counting at 0, and so it's generally just good practice to do this. But if we did want to display 5, we could say less than or equal to I is less than or equal to 5, and I is equal to 1. And so we're going to run exactly 5 times and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. This loop is run 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and there we go. So that's essentially the for loop. Again, this is the syntax. Whatever's in between these curly brackets are going to run this many times while I is less than 5. And if you're wondering, yes, we can do plus equals 2. And now it will run, it'll run 1, and then it will run 3, and it'll run 5, I believe, if I am correct. Yeah, so we run 1, 2, 3, 5. What am I saying? 1, 3, 5. And so we're incrementing by 2 each time. So we run 1, and then after that, we plus 1 plus 2 is 3, and then we print out 3, and then 3 plus 2 is 5, and yeah, and then 5 is less than or equal to 5, so it will not run again, because we do what's 5 plus 2, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 7 is greater than 5, which is not allowed, right? So I don't think this actually took too long, so we'll also go over while loops, which I think are easier than for loops to understand. So let's go ahead and say we have a boolean is running, and we're going to set this to true. And now we say while is running, we're going to say hi, right? So this is gonna infinitely run, because I'm never backing out. And so as you can see, the terminal is it's moving, but Here, I have to press Control C if that will do anything. No, it's not going to work, so I have to manually kill it. And now we'll see after all these highs. Yeah, I printed a lot of them. Look at this taskbar. Holy shit. Alright, there we go. So let's see how many times we can run a while loop. Like how fast we can do it, because these are quite powerful and they can run quite fast. So let's say we have int counter is equal to 0, and we'll do system.out counter plus plus. Counter plus plus means that we are adding 1 to counter each iteration. So now let's go ahead and run this. Look how fast this goes. We're already in like 50,000, 100,000. So in the span of maybe, I want to say 2 seconds, we already ran through this loop 100,000 times. That's pretty impressive. And now we're at 500,000, I want to say. Oh wait, no. It's hard to see when it's running so much. Here, wait. Let me stop it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so actually we were in 8 million. Yeah. So scratch what I just said about 100,000. We just ran through the loop 8 million times in probably about 10 seconds. But to be fair, what we are doing inside our while loop is very simple and not complex, and does not have a crazy, like all we're doing is printing an incrementing value to the terminal, which is not time consuming whatsoever. So maybe this isn't the best sort of representation, but that's essentially the while loop.